right, welcome back in. Zach Gelb Show outside of Arm & Hammer Park. 4:33 is the time as we broadcast to you back in the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios. A man that sat down in a chair that has seen the likes of Rhys Hoskins, Scott Kingery. We'll see Tyler Austin later on. Justice Sheffield sat down in that same chair. But he told me he was God, and that is Jon Mozes, who hops on board with us right now. Of course, you can hear him tonight with Adam Giardino. Him and Adam are going to have a great call of this game tonight, Trenton and Reading. John, great to see you. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing great. See, I always like to talk to John off air. We always have a lot of lively conversations. So I said to myself, we'll bring John on because we talked to Adam enough. And last time Adam was like half sleeping when he was on the air. So
why am I not surprised?
I think you'd be a little bit more exuberant. So that's why we brought you on. I actually stole something. I came to do some prep last night, and I stole something from your press box. And I didn't realize it says, please do not remove from the press box, but they add an E on it. What's up with the E?
Well, that was Adam's typo, as usual.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunate. I know.
But I'll tell you, the atmosphere inside the building last night here in Arm & Hammer Park was unbelievable. This is a fun series when Trenton always plays Reading.
Well, for sure. I mean, you think about a lot of people to the south of us are Philadelphia Phillies fans. A lot of people to the west in Bucks County, Philadelphia Phillies fans. I grew up in Philadelphia. I'm a Phillies fan myself, at least growing up. So, when you have sort of that rivalry atmosphere, that definitely comes around every time that Reading is here. And we're fortunate to have them 3 times this year. So it goes back to last year in the postseason. Played them in a pretty aggressive series in the postseason last year, which was a lot of fun to be a part of. Really tight baseball, like really good play at the end of the year last year. And Reading was the big story with Cousins and Hoskins. I mean, you were part of that.
Sure.
Talking to both of those guys hitting 40 home runs. I mean,
the Bash brothers.
They're both pretty incredible, and they're doing the same this year.
Yeah.
I mean, they're on track to hit 40 home runs each again this year in AAA Lehigh Valley. So, it just sort of is what it is. I mean, they've got good players. We do too, and it's been fun.
It was a fun atmosphere last night, and since you mentioned Hoskins, he's someone that he sat down here last year. He's like, I got to improve on my strikeout numbers. And I looked at the stats, and I'm like, what does he really have to improve on that much? And you've been seeing that this year. Jon Mozes with us right now on the Zach Gelb Show. Quick question, though, inside the stadium. Is it cash only?
What do you mean?
Everywhere?
No.
Like you could pay credit card.
Of course.
I went to one stand last night. I was a little bit hungry. I wasn't a big fan of the press box food last night. And
oh, well, you should have come to me. We can take care of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know the special treatment in the broadcast booth, the Tom McCarthy broadcast booth.
That's right. Yeah, Tom McCarthy, our first radio broadcaster.
I went to go get some pizza, and the guy took it out of everything and put it on the plate and goes, all right, it's like $6.50 for 2 slices. Nice price, not overpriced at a ballpark. And he goes, it's cash only. And I go, I only got card.
Well, there's 1 or 2 stands here that are cash only, and certainly like the traveling people throughout the stands, lemonade or cotton candy.
That's
where
understandable.
But there's 1 or 2. But for the most part, plastic's accepted.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about last night. A game that was 3 triples in 1 inning, and it was bizarre. You had a play that was overturned, stealing a base, which I don't know why the runner was going, but we won't criticize anyone too badly. Just how about last night, that triple party, and then what you saw out of Herrera on the mound?
I mean, that was a lot of fun to be a part of. Tyler Austin obviously hit a ball really well, then ended up with 3 out of it. We looked back. We couldn't find another instance in which the Thunder had 4 triples in a game, as they did last night. 3 triples in 1 inning. We're just sort of going with it and saying that's the franchise record. But it's sort of one. How do you even explain it? The one with Carlos Tocci in center field where he maybe sort of had a misplay. Yeah, he had a little bit of a tough night in center field. Maybe a little bit of a misplay there, but at the same time, I mean, you get a couple of hitters that really hit the ball hard, hit it to the alleys, and they give themselves a chance. I mean, Tyler can run a little bit better than I think people give him credit for. Jake Cave, we know, can run well. So it's not much of a surprise. I mean, it's a weird coincidence that you get 3 in 1 inning, but no, I mean, it's one of the most exciting plays in baseball, so we love to see him.
Who was on the mic then? Who was doing the play-by-play?
Oh, that was me.
Okay. So do you look at Adam there when, you get a bunch of exciting plays in an inning and go, see, I take all the credit for this?
No, yes and no. Back in 2014 when Adam and I started working together, the first homestand that we worked together, I called something like 25 of the team's first 35 runs at home.
Jeez.
And Adam was just like, I can't believe this. My first year as the lead announcer, and I'm not calling any of the runs in the home games. And, the cherry on top was a Sunday of our first series of the year.
That was nice what you did right there. Very nice.
And we had an 11-run inning, capped off by a Gary Sanchez grand slam home run. And that was the full game. They won 11-4 or 11-3, whatever it was. And, Adam just sort of threw down his headset at the end of the inning and said, well, I guess I'm useless to this team.
Do you like Adam?
Yeah, he's okay.
What's one thing that annoys you about him? I'm just messing with you. You'll see why at the end of the interview I keep on bringing up Adam. We're going to have a little fun with you at the end of this conversation. Since you mentioned Tyler Austin, he's going to be joining us later on the show at 5:15. You got to see him now for a few years. Just how about his future? Because that first base position on the big league level, no one has really come out and said, hey, this is my position for the rest of the year.
Yeah, they've been hit with a couple of injuries.
Sure.
Greg Bird hasn't really played a whole lot, since he got off to a bit of a slow start at the outset of the year. But I've seen really good Tyler Austin here in Trenton. I think we all have. I mean, we've seen him each of the last 6 years. He first reached Double-A as a 20-year-old back in 2012. Big-time power bat. It's in there. We haven't always seen it, but it's there. And a wrist injury at one point there, and I think it was 2014, that had sapped some of his power. But it's starting to come around. And, I think that's I think he provides some versatility that not every player can. Play some right field, play some first base, and the fact that he's right-handed will always give him some opportunities, at least as one half of a platoon player in the big leagues. But he's always had a good feel for the strike zone, the ability to hit for contact at this level, and I've always said to myself that the guys that can identify pitches at this level and show selectivity and be able to take walks, that's a skill that's going to translate to AAA and to the big leagues, and I think Tyler showed that in his brief cup of coffee last year.
Let's get to a player. You only got to see him for a concise amount of time, but he had a big impact and now is up with AAA, and who knows when he'll be going up to the big leagues. Could be a bit sooner than people expected. Glaber Torres, your impressions of what you were able to see out of him?
I mean, it's just really impressive, the fact that he's only 20 years old. He's got some real power in that bat, and you think to yourself, okay, he's a shortstop. You look at his size. He's, 5'10", 5'11". He's not big, but he's got some real power in there. He has an ability, like I was talking about with Austin, to select pitches at the plate and take walks. And sure, he'll take the big swing from time to time and look to put one into the Delaware River, even though he's a right-hand batter, and that's pretty hard to do in this park. But he showed off some pretty impressive power with us, and he made every play at shortstop. He can be a little over-aggressive on the base paths, but he's a 20-year-old player. That's going to happen.
And probably what's going to happen, because Didi Gregorius has been a stud at the big league level, I would have to assume, and there's been talks about this, obviously, and he's been getting some third base time in AAA, that he's going to be a third baseman. How does he make that transition going from short to third?
It's a subtle transition. He's certainly got enough arm strength to play the position. I would say it's just more of an experience point of view in terms of his footwork, and that's something that's sort of hard for us to see on a daily basis. What is good footwork versus average footwork versus below average footwork at third base. That's sort of a hard thing for us, regular guys to see. But evaluators and scouts, they certainly see that kind of thing. And, from the people that I talk to, they think he'll be able to grow into the position and handle it. And that, in my dealings with him and from talking to our coaches, he's very good about absorbing coaching, whether it's from instructors that come down or from our defensive coaches or from our manager. They all spoke very highly of him in his 6 weeks here.
Now, the abundance of youth in this organization. You're seeing on the big league level now Aaron Judge, you have Gary Sanchez. We all know the names, and you have guys in AAA, AA, all that in this organization. It's just so much youth in this, not a rebuild process anymore because of how quickly this team has turned it around and produced on the big league level. With that being said, though, there's a lot of guys here that some fans don't know. Estrada, the year he's having, it's like people aren't talking about him. And I know Castro's been a stud at the big league level this year, but just give me the scouting report as someone that gets to see him almost every day on what Estrada's been able to do.
Well, he's got gap-to-gap power. He'll hit the occasional home run, but he gets on base at an incredibly high clip. So I think coming in today, he's played 37 games this year. He's reached base in 33 of them.
Wow.
And in total, he's reached base something like 68 times. So he's reaching base nearly twice every game that he plays at this level. And he's only 8 or 10 months older than Glaber Torres. So he's a young player for this level anyway. And he's showing that ability to take walks and hit for average as necessary. He's a guy who's really under the radar. He makes every play in the field, looks really smooth out there. I would think in, almost any other organization that he would be getting some real face time, some real profile. But, with the presence of Torres and with the presence of Tyler Wade in AAA, the presence of Castro and Gregorius at the big league level, that nobody's really looking into middle infield prospects that aren't the top guys. And Estrada has sort of flown under the radar, and I think now that Glaber is gone, that people will start to pay attention a little bit more to what he does so well. And I think another guy who was overshadowed is Miguel Andujar. While, we saw Miguel last 60 or so games last year, he shows off some big power in batting practice. I mean, you should come over sometime and just watch his batting practice because he can really get into it.
Got to come down for a weekend game, because it's tough when we do the show 4 to 6.
Of course, yeah. Come over on a Saturday.
I'll come down on the weekend. We'll mess with you guys in the booth, and I'll watch some batting practice.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Just limit it to Adam.
Yeah, no, yeah, sure. Of course.
So, yeah.
We'll mess with you on air. We'll mess with Adam off the air.
Yeah, that works. Andujar is a guy that I think can really have a long career in the big leagues because he'll hit for power. He'll hit for average. He had some hiccups with his glove last year in terms of throwing the ball, but we haven't seen any of those throwing issues that we had last year. So I think, you can sort of tip your cap to him and give him some credit for the way he's improved defensively in the time that we've seen him in Double-A.
The pitching has been stellar as Jon Mozes joins us right now. I know Sheffield went on that 2-game period where he wasn't pitching his best, but ever since, that one start against Reading the other night was very promising.
Yeah.
I like him from everything you hear about him. Just give me a little bit about the pitchers as the future for the Yankees.
God, it's every single guy that comes through. I mean, we thought we would have a great rotation at the outset of the year. We were right. We've already lost a couple of guys up to AAA.
Chance,
yeah, Chance Adams, Daniel Camarena, and we're still really good in the rotation. Jeffrey Ramirez is the league's reigning pitcher of the week, and nobody really thought much of Jeffrey coming into the year. We had Domingo Herman go up to AAA after about 6 or 7 starts, and that guy is impressive, man. He's 94 with sink, good hook, feel for a changeup, real good opportunity for him to pitch in the big leagues at some point. And the guy you'll see tonight, Domingo Acevedo, is like really impressive.
You love that name, by the way.
Not only the name, but he's
Domingo Acevedo.
It's a great name,
especially with your voice. Like, come on, give me like a real baritone Jon Mozes. Domingo Acevedo.
Well, you're getting it every day. It's Domingo Acevedo. To be honest, when Domingo pitches, and we saw his first start here just at the beginning of the homestand on Friday night, he looks like Michael Pineda.
Really?
He's 6'7". He's 240 pounds. He is built. He's got these long levers, and he's got good command, which is something that, with a bigger guy, you almost always say to yourself, okay, maybe the command is later to come, or the control is later to come. But he throws a ton of strikes. He's 96 to 98. He was up to 101 before he got up here in Charleston and in Tampa before. And we've got guys who have had success at this level. Every guy in the starting rotation has really looked good. Brady Lale, who's going to pitch tomorrow, really one of the stars for us in our rotation in 2015 and started the year with us in 2016. So every single guy in our rotation is really good. And we even talked about Ronald Herrera, who threw 7 innings of one-run ball last night.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And didn't you have someone last night that threw 100 miles per hour? I was listening to you guys on the ride home, and Adam's just like amazed. He's like, this guy just threw 100 miles per hour. I think that's the first time in his life he's ever done it.
Yeah, that's Cale Kosho, a guy who we've had for parts for a couple of. Yeah, that's the other part about the Yankee system. We've got great names. Just another reason to come out to the game. Cale was up to 100 last night. A couple of times earlier this year. And he's a guy who's really taken nicely to a bullpen role. When he first came to us, he was a starter, and he had some troubles with ball 4. He made about 8 or 10 starts at the beginning of last year. Flipped him into the bullpen. He's come in with a really nice attitude and really a great aggressive mindset on the mound this year.
You said you're from Philly, correct?
That's true.
So you probably grew up worshiping and genuflecting to the great Harry Callis, who
sure.
is as big as a legend as it comes in the broadcasting industry. Is that what sparked your interest, doing what you're doing right now?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think I always paid attention to what broadcasters were doing. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't know Phillies baseball without Harry's voice until he passed away. And, I think that's something that sort of inspired me to this day is, there's entire generations of fans that only know the game through his voice. So for me, that sort of connection that you can make with millions of people without ever meeting them, people say Harry was a part of their family because every night they'd turn on the radio or they'd turn on the TV and they'd hear him. So it felt like every night of the summer that he was part of the family. So that sort of connection that you can make as an announcer, I think that's something that sort of attracted me to the industry. And then, having a ton of opportunity when I was in college at the University of New Haven, certainly helped color that. And, you just sort of go out and do what you try to do, what you like to do. So haven't worked a day here,
Was this your first job out of college?
No, my first job out of college was in Abilene, Texas, working for an independent minor league baseball team.
Oh, we need some stories on that.
Well,
what's it like doing that in Texas?
Well,
especially because you come down there from Philadelphia, you probably don't fit in right away.
Well,
you know, where's a cheesesteak? And they look at you saying, "What the heck is wrong with this?"
Well, how about this? You ask them what a hogie is, and they look like you have three heads.
Especially with the accent, like, "Give me a hoagie or get me some ice cream with some Jimmies," right?
Yeah, you know, Abilene, Texas, there are more churches per square mile than anywhere else in the world. You know, so that was a little bit of an adjustment, and it's really, like, that's a real thing. Like, you drive down the road, and there's a church on this corner. You drive to the next block, there's a church on that corner. And
high school football everywhere, right?
Oh, you wouldn't believe the high school football stadiums in the city of
nuts.
Abilene. It's 13, 15,000-seat stadiums. You know, there were a couple of colleges in town that would host, like, the major sectional finals, and those seat 30,000. And, you know, we're not talking about major Division I programs in Abilene, Texas. We're talking about Abilene Christian University, which is a D2, McMurray University, which was a NAIA school the year that we were there.
That.
Well, sure. I mean, you know, it's my first experience
when you
doing
first
baseball.
went there, when you first went to a football game, let's say, and you just saw what high school football is like in Texas, how blown away were you?
I mean, I just drove by the stadium and thought I was looking at a college stadium. And they were like, oh, yeah, that's the 7A high school here. That's Abilene High. I'm like, what, are you kidding me?
Right.
No, and it really is. You know, the whole town goes to these football games on Friday nights. It's their religion. It's what they do.
What's your dream job?
Harry Callis.
Okay. Voice of the Phillies.
Sure.
You got to say, well, Fransky, L.A., you know, retire, and then Jon Mozes comes in. Who would be your ideal color person? You could pick anyone in the sport of baseball to do color with. You get to be the PD. You get to be the person that makes that decision. You're doing play-by-play. Who's your color guy?
Ooh. Man, I don't know.
I just earned my paycheck right there with that question, by the way. That's a solid question.
I know I would have a lot of fun with Larry Anderson or John Kruk, just because they just want to have fun. And I think to a certain degree I do too. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's baseball. We're trying to have fun, right?
People in our industry, this is the most dressed up I get. I'm in a black T-shirt and jeans. Like, if people, they take sometimes this job, everything too seriously. Yes, you got to be prepared. You got to be diligent. But then the people develop the egos and everything. And we all have egos, don't get me wrong. But when you think that when you're on the radio and what you're putting out there is the greatest thing in the world, like everyone has done radio.
Right, just have a little bit of perspective.
Person, have some fun.
Yeah.
And just be entertaining.
Be
Don't
nice
put
to
us
people.
To sleep like when Giardino was on the show a few weeks ago. He comes up to me. I thought he was brilliant, by the way, when he comes on. I always like talking to Adam.
Okay.
And he goes,
it's good,
comes up
I
today. Yeah. Hey, you said it, not me. And then he comes up to us and he goes, you know, last time I was on with you guys, I was half asleep. Like, you think anyone remembers that? Like, if he wouldn't have said it, I would have never talked about that on air because I would have never remembered it.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, you just have to have some perspective about where you are. I mean, I did independent minor league baseball for a couple of years before I got here in 2014.
How'd you get here?
Through Adam, actually.
Really?
Yeah, so after 2013, I had worked in Gary, Indiana for an independent minor league team. And I was just doing some networking and finding people that were roughly my age. You know, and Adam went to the University of Connecticut. I went to the University of New Haven, so we had some mutual friends.
Were you guys like a package deal, like a Step Brothers interview? You're interviewing in the suits and everything.
No, we weren't.
Who was the one that farted in the office?
Well, that was him. So
I would have bet you. Adam looks like a very clean person.
Yeah, probably. That's probably fair. So we had some mutual friends. You know, I had worked for ESPN Radio in Hartford, Connecticut, their Hartford affiliate, and the producer I worked for, Rich Cook, knew Adam from UConn because that's where he went to school. So I just sort of blindly reached out to him and was like, hey, like I see you've gone to the winter meetings before. I'm thinking of going here this winter. What was your experience like? Just want to pick your brain. Would love to chat with you. So we just sort of stayed in touch. And he literally called me a week before the 2014 season and said, so we think we're hiring a full-time radio broadcaster, corporate sales guy here in Trenton. Even if he accepts the job, he's not going to be here for 6 weeks. And, you know, like I need an assistant. So what do you think? And I was like, sure. Because I was looking at doing the Camden River Sharks at that time, unpaid.
That's not good.
Well, you know,
you got to get paid.
I agree. But at the same time, as an announcer, you got to get innings.
Yeah,
you got to continue to get better.
That's true. You're right. You got to get reps.
You know, you have to do a certain number of innings before you figure out if you're any good at it or even if you like it enough to continue to pursue it. So I said, sure. You know, I did 17 games, the outside of 14 season. John Rogers was here for about 6 weeks, and it didn't work out. He decided he wanted to not do it, and they brought me back.
Wow.
The rest is history.
All right, before we let you run,
all right.
Adam printed something out, and he goes, I want to hear John read this on air. Like, I need this to be a deep read, baritone, like when you do the introduction, like, Arm and Hammer, Trenton Thunder baseball, baking soda, like all that stuff that you guys do.
Okay.
Here's the preamble to the Constitution.
Ooh, I like this.
Adam said you were like a little nerdy, like would enjoy reading this, but I need this to be deep, baritone, and I want everyone here to be able to hear the voice of the Trenton Thunder in Jon Mozes. Take it away.
We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
Okay, that was brilliant. Great job. Little round of applause for Jon Mozes.
Well, we should really be reading this on a daily basis, given our current climate.
Maybe you should just get on the air tonight and be like, hey, Adam, we the people of the United States. As the program director, I would allow that on
Okay, great. Just
Last thing to ask you, since you grew up in Philadelphia, you're an Eagles fan. Answer my poll question today. Are you annoyed that Fletcher Cox didn't show up to the voluntary OTAs? Yes or no?
No.
Why not?
Because it's voluntary.
Did you realize what he did last year? He was not good on the football field. He's a leader, and he's getting paid 6 years, 102. Shouldn't my leader show the younger guys the way when everyone shows up there besides Marcus Smith, who's a no-show in the regular season anyway?
Well, I'm not as worried. My leader's there. Carson Wentz.
On the offensive side of the ball.
Malcolm Jenkins.
Okay, but don't you want to get the younger guys in that defensive line? Show them the right way with the preeminent player in the defensive line.
At the end of the day, I'm just not concerned about it.
Okay.
He's going to be there in training camp. He's going to be there at the mandatory OTAs, the ones where he could actually have some consequences for not being at. At this point of the year, I mean, the guy deserves a summer. He has to keep his body, as with any football player.
A few days.
Yeah, sure.
He's got to show up a few days.
Yeah, I get that. But at the same time, you can't be on the call all the time. I mean, these guys have to maintain their bodies 12 months of the year anyway, and I'm sure he's still doing that, and he's still going to be an outstanding player when he comes onto the field next year. He's still going to be their best defensive line player. So what does it matter?
Let me ask you this. 10:30 a.m. broadcast tomorrow.
Yeah.
Actually, no, because it's 10:30. This would put me in a part to fail. 7 p.m. broadcast. Reading, Trenton, let's just say it was tomorrow. Adam goes to you, hey, it's voluntary for you to show up. You're showing up because you care about your audience, right?
Yeah.
You care about your broadcast partner.
Yeah.
Fletcher Cox should care about his teammates and show up. And this is a no issue.
There's no game.
Show up, though.
It's not a game.
I don't
care. He doesn't have to be there. He's not
practice.
getting paid to be there.
Everyone else is there besides Jason Peters.
He's getting paid no matter
what.
what.
Cares about.
First of all, I care about Donnie Jones. That guy's like a 4-time Pro Bowler. He's been snubbed 3 times.
Fine. Marcus Smith, no one cares about. That's someone that's getting cut.
Well, he needs a fresh start.
If he doesn't show up to the OTAs, which he hasn't, that's a big problem.
Well, I'm less concerned about it. I'll be honest. Like at the end of the day, I mean, Cox is going to be there. He's still going to be their best player. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't matter. Like give him a chance to spend time with his family, which is literally what he's doing. Why are we going to penalize the guy for being on a vacation?
Has enough off time.
Are you kidding me?
Has enough off time? He does.
No way, man.
They're asking you to be there for a few days. That's it.
It's a 7-month season.
Go to Cabo, and
it's July to January.
Go to Cabo in a different time of the year. Go to Cabo then. Don't do it right now. Jon Mozes. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. See, there we go.
Yeah, exactly right.
You're making him mad.
No, I know that.
You're
he
him
agrees
mad.
with me.
No.
He agrees with me.
This is where we're going to go Donald Trump fake news right now. No, you're making him mad. Okay.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
Served so that he has the freedom to do what he wants.
How can I argue with someone that served?
Exactly. How can you argue with the Constitution of the United States?
You are fake news.
Right there. All right, Jon Mozes, I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Zach.
Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey, outside of Arm & Hammer Park. I'm making people that serve the country mad. This isn't good. Maybe they'll invite me back. Tyler Austin coming up at 5:15. When we come back, we'll give you an update on the poll. Get into last night, what happened in the NBA, NHL, and also the MLB. Zach Gelb Show coming on back right after this.